Welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue working on our 2020 Honda CRV Touring Edition. We got everything edged out. Well, actually, I didn't. The painting gnome did. So we can start putting it back together. We even got, I think, all of our parts. There was a little bit of a weight on the headliner. It came from Honda. They actually had the cheapest one. Used ones were more expensive than a new one. But it took me a little while to get. It's here now. Let's see if we can get the whole interior together and the doors on it and get it ready to paint the outside. Let's get started. We have to put our foam back in here. My least favorite part of the job. Getting the nozzle all the way down in there where you need the foam to go sometimes isn't the easiest. So I just put a rubber hose on there, and if you move quick enough, you can get it through the hose before it starts expanding. If you don't move quick enough, well, it starts expanding in the hose and pops it off just like that. And that's why I put the paper in there. We'll get the rest of it with the nozzle, and we'll grab another hose and finish it off. Hopefully moving a little faster this time. So now I didn't ruin the carpet. We got all our foam in there. It may not look pretty, but it's not going to leak. And in the event of a water landing, this pillar can be used as a flotation device. We'll clip the wiring harness back into its appropriate spots on the pillar. And then we'll install our striker for the rear door. Down with our torque wrench. Click. And we'll put in our little dome light button. Plug it in and snap it in there. And there's one screw in the bottom. Click. Put the rest of that wiring harness in. And we'll put our plugs back up in our A-pillar. We'll fish the door harness out of the A-pillar. I thought I'd never see this thing again. Must be my lucky day. We'll put our striker up in the front door. These are self-aligning and they stay adjusted, so we shouldn't have to adjust anything. Everything should be right where we left it. Tighten it down with the ratchet. Plug in our little dome light button. Snap it in there and screw it in. Click. Now we got to put our airbag sensor back in the pillar. And plug that in. I'm kind of mentally going through everything to make sure that I got it all back together in an effort to avoid this next part, which is changing the headliner. One of my least favorite parts. Right next to putting the foam in the pillar. The sun visors are pretty easy to take out. There's a little tab in the back that you press and then twist the whole visor and it pops out. And unplug it. The little clip for the headliner just twists out. In our center console, just open up the door. There's a couple screws in the back of it. We're going to pop the covers off for the lights. Just get a sharp pick in there and pop them off. They just clip on. So there's a couple screws hidden in there. They're the type belonging to Philip. And slide it forward. There's one tab in the back that holds it into the headliner. And now we can unplug the copious amounts of plugs on the back of it. Pull the sun visor clip off this side. Give it a twist. Push that tab on our visor and twist it. Once it's out of there, we can disconnect the plug. Stuff it up in the roof. Now we can move on to the grab handles. There's a couple little locks. Just pry out on each side and then clip them and then pop those out of there. Once those are out, there's a couple little metal tabs. Just squeeze them together. Pull out on the handle a little bit. There's a top and a bottom. Now we can take our A-pillar trim out, pull the door gasket out, reach in there and disconnect it, wiggle and pull. And we'll put the clip back in it so it's ready to go back in. And we got more grab handles. Get a little better shot of how it works. Looks like we're doing this by candlelight. So we got that lock out of there. I'll do the lock on the other side. Trying to do it without destroying the plastic is a little difficult. And now we can reach those little metal tabs inside. Push them together. Do the one on the other side. And it's out. To get the dome light in the center and the rear out, just pop that cover off. And there's a couple screws allowing you to fill up inside there. Spin those out of there. Pop that whole light out and unplug it. All these plugs are made for people with little fingers. And some more grab handles. We're going to pull the rest of them out. Now I know there is another name for these handles, but we're trying to keep it PG around here. So we'll carefully pry the little plastic locks out of each side. And squeeze the little metal tabs. And that handle's out. Off to the front. We have to tuck our shredded headliner back up behind the handle so we can get to it. That's why we're changing the headliner. It's going to be a lot easier to change the headliner than to convince the new buyer of this vehicle that that's custom upholstery. Now we can push our center rear seat belt through the headliner. Pull out a couple push pins, and we'll pull this quarter trim down a little bit. We're not going to take it all the way out. The tabs up in the front of these are really unfriendly. Just going to pull it down enough that we can slide the headliner out from under it. While we're back there, we'll unplug the wiring harness that runs down the D pillar. Then we'll head up to the A pillar on the driver's side, unplug this harness. And then a little wiggle and pull. We can pull our headliner out of the clips that are in the sunroof. And we forgot some wires. Unplug everything from behind the mirror. Didn't realize that wiring harness stayed with the headliner. And our headliner is down. Oh, one more plug. And our passenger sun visor connector doesn't play well with others. It wants to stay up in the roof. So we're going to pull it out of there and take it with. We also had to unplug the wiring harness that runs down the A pillar on the passenger side. And our headliner is ready to come out of here. So we're going to go put this somewhere far away. I've had enough of headliners for the moment. We'll find something else to do. Now that our headliner is out of the way, it's a good time to change our airbag that's deployed here. So we're going to unplug the connector first so we don't end up ripping the wires out of the roof. And then we can unbolt it. If the headliner wasn't torn, we could always just drop down half of it, reach up here and change this curtain airbag, but since we had to change the headliner anyway, we might as well get it out of our way. There's a couple push pins that hold the plastic in place. Keep working our way towards the front. With the rest of it. And one last push pin. And toss that in the pile. And now we can install our new airbag. Even though I did get it from a salvage yard, it's brand new. It's what they call OEM surplus. When manufacturers build vehicles, they might plan on building 1 million units, and they'll have enough extra airbags for, say, 20,000 in case they have any kind of defects or anything that they notice on the assembly line, things get broken, don't meet standards, whatever. So the extra ones, when they're all done with the line, end up getting sold off to salvage yards that can sell used airbags that are actually brand new at a fraction of the cost of what the dealer's asking for these things. Not gonna lie, kind of excited to open this thing up. Aw, man. It's just a headliner. I was hoping for a pizza. Aww. Looks like I'm gonna need a dull razor blade. We need to swap the wiring harness from our old headliner onto our new headliner because for all the money we spent on a headliner, we don't get the wiring harness. So we unplugged our rear microphone. Now we're going to peel the wiring harness off very carefully. It's held on by sticky aluminum foil. So if we peel it off nicely, we can reuse that foil. It's pretty sticky. And if you get too aggressive with it, you end up tearing it. So this one came off the harness. We'll just set it off to the side, sticky side up. And it'll be waiting for us when we get our harness to the new one. And as we swap this wiring harness over to our new headliner, you can enjoy some background music because we have no audio. And you can thank an expert for that. Get a new microphone, they said. You'll never regret it, they said. Well, I spent a couple $100 on a new microphone and I've regretted it ever since. From problems with the output channels to no audio whatsoever. Here we go. So maybe one of these days I'll get it all fixed, but what they don't realize is the problem was never the microphone. I'm filming this entire thing in a big concrete box with a leaky air compressor. So you're going to get a lot of feedback noise, and there's nothing I can do about it except build a set to work on cars so that you guys can enjoy the videos. Not my job. I'm not a video production expert. Audio production expert, so you get what you get. If you don't like it, change the channel. So now that my little rant is over and you understand why I don't value the opinions of all these experts, we'll return you to your regularly scheduled program. We're going to screw in our rear microphone and plug it in. We already stuck the rest of our wiring harness on there. It was pretty simple. Now, we ordered a pizza and we didn't get any pizza. But we did get some help. So Pizza Girl is here to help us put this headliner in. We can take it out by ourselves because we don't care if we destroy the already bad old headliner. But since I spent all this money on a brand new one, I want to keep it in good condition. So we do have to bend it a little bit to get it in there since we didn't take the windshield out. But with two of us, we'll get it in there with no creases, hopefully. And in one piece. Slowly feed it through. It helps to not have that front seat in there. Since we didn't take our trim panels down on the passenger side, we need to slide it up behind those trim panels. First the quarter trim. Get it up there. Go. Now the B-pillar trim. That has the same clips on the top that aren't friendly and don't like to come off. And we can start sticking it up to the sunroof. That'll hold it in place. We can fish our seatbelt through there. Plug in our wiring harness and this D-pillar on our passenger side. And we'll stick our quarter trim back up there. And yes, I am wearing gloves. I didn't want to get the headliner dirty with my greasy paws. We're going to put this left rear grab handle in here to hold our headliner up so that we can let the pizza girl go back to her regular job. The quarter trim is holding it up on the right side, and all of the little clips around the sunroof is holding it up in the front. So now it's up there. She can go back to work. We'll put our wiring harness back in our A-pillar. Just clips in. And then we'll plug it in. And we can put our A-pillar trim back up there. Slides into the top of the dash. Line up all the clips and smash it onto the pillar with your belt molding installation tool. Unless you happen to have one of those fancy A-pillar trim installation tools. We'll tuck our door gasket back in there. Just fold it underneath our trim piece. It's actually supposed to go on after. And now we're going to put another grab handle in. This is the right front. We're going for a unique design on this one. Not being very friendly going in there. There we go. Something doesn't look right. But it's in there. Put our little sun visor clip in. Just twist in there. I think you can actually push them in, but it twisted in. Plug in our sun visor. Plug our wiring harness up there. Push it up into the roof and twist it to lock it in. Make sure it's locked in there and it's going to fall out on us the first time we try to use it. With a little experimentation, I found the easy way to put these grab handles in. Just put the little locking tabs in the center and then just push them in. And since I figured out how to do it the right way, we'll redo this front right one that we put in backwards. It's upside down. Even I make mistakes. But we're going to fix it and nobody will ever know, except for somebody that watches this video. Flipped it over, put our little locks in there, pushed it in, and we're all done. It goes in a lot easier when you put it in the right way. We'll head over to the driver's side. We'll put our grab handle in here. Will you look at that? I put it in right. Now we'll throw our sun visor up here. And lock our sun visor in. We'll put our little clip in there. That one just pushed in. Now we can start plugging our wiring harness into our camera, our rain sensor, and our mirror. This is the harness I forgot to unplug before. I'll put the cover around all of it. Just clips in. Once that's in, we'll put the cover on. Snaps into the cover we just put on. Now we're ready to put our overhead console in. Start plugging in all these plugs. There's one for the light, one for the sunroof, another one for the dome lights, the switch itself. And then there's probably one more and I don't remember what it's for. But we'll plug it in. Put it into our headliner. And screw it in. There's one screw in each of the four corners, and if you're wondering what that little compartment in the back is for, why it has a mirror on it, that's to hold your sunglasses when it's on the first setting. It allows you to see whatever you have in the back seat. Children, pets, serial killers, whatever. Now we can clip our little covers in for the dome lights, make sure they work. Now we can install the rear dome light, plug it in, tiny little plugs, and push it up into the headliner, and then screw it in. Pop the cover over it. Now we have yet one more wiring harness to plug in on our A-pillar here. Flip it all in and then plug it in at the bottom. And then we can put our trim back over it. Somewhere along the line I lost my gloves. I'm done working on the headliner. Plastic cleans up easy, so we can get it dirty. Pull the door gasket out of here and stuff it back in. It's easier than trying to peel it out from around the A-pillar trim and the headliner. Now we have to put the final touches on our B-pillar repair. We need to rust proof it. We're going to put some cavity wax in anywhere we welded it. We could get some primer in there, but not in every spot. So we want to make sure we're not going to have any rust on the bare metal where we welded and burn the paint off. And we're going to go ahead and do our seams in the rocker. There's a double panel in here, so we got to make sure we get on both sides. We just took this plug out that we put in earlier, so we'll have to put it back in. Get good coating in there. A little extra isn't going to hurt. Put our plug back in, and we'll head over to the dog leg, and we'll get this seam real good. It'll also run down in the channel where all of our other welds were. Keep any moisture out of there. And now we can put our seatbelt adjuster back in our B-pillar. Screw in the top and the bottom. Tighten those up. And we can put our trim on. We still never did get that trim clip out of there, so we're just going to slide the trim piece over the clip and smash it on there with our belt molding installation tool. Because I'm poor and can't afford a specific B-pillar trim installation tool, it's all clipped in there. We'll pull the door gasket out from inside of it. Way back at the beginning of this build, we pulled our seatbelt out, packaged it all up, and set it off to my airbags, and now it's back, all repaired and ready for us to put in. I found this fancy sharp razor blade. It's like Christmas. I do a lot better job packaging it up than I did when I sent it to him. So let's go throw it in. We'll put the base in, bolt it down, 2 different size bolts. Plug that in, and we'll run our seatbelt up and screw the top of it in just to keep it out of our way and make sure that we don't have it twisted up. Twist it, and we could put our tensioner down in the bottom. Slides through that hole where the seat perch is, and then we can bolt it in and plug it in. Remind me to take my tools off from underneath the carpeting. I hate when I leave them in there. Now we'll release our rubber carpet holder and fold our carpeting back down. Tuck it in where it belongs, and it's got a couple clips that hold it in, so we'll snap those in. And then we can slide our lower B-pillar trim on there. And clip it in. Hey, it fits. I guess I didn't make the pillar too short. We can bolt in the top of our seatbelt and snap our little cover in there. It goes the other way. There you go. Make sure it works after we put it all together. We can snap our kick panel in here. It's also the cover for our fuel door release and our hood release. Flip it in. Pull our door gasket out from around it. Put our sill plate in there and smash it in. And yes, we're going to vacuum underneath the seat. Got a little dust in there, a couple pieces of glass found their way out. And now we can set our seat in here. Rock it back and plug it in. This is a used seat I was able to find. It was, I think, like $250, which was the price of the airbag alone. And that did not include the seat cover or the foam on the inside. All were destroyed from when the airbag went off. So it would have cost me about $800 to replace all those parts from Honda, and a lot more labor than just bolting it in. So a used seat just made sense, both in saving on parts and labor. We can bolt our seat in there and move it back so we can get to the bolts on the front. Bolt those in. With my impact that identifies as a torque wrench. And now we're ready to put our doors on. I left the doors off just so it was a lot easier to get in and out of here while I was putting the interior together. So now we can throw them on. Latch the back of it. Start our bolts in the front and tighten them down. Everything should be aligned. Let's find out. Moment of truth. It opens and closes. What do you know? Put our door check back in here. Bolt it to our B-pillar and bolt it to the door. Get our speaker back in here. Tighten up that bolt on the B-pillar before I forget. And close the door and try not to smash our plug. We'll plug our harnesses together, stuff it into the B-pillar, and then we'll push our grommet in there. I was able to leave our used door harness in there because I checked the part numbers and it was the same as our original. So why take it all apart and deal with gooey fun stuff if I don't have to? Now we have to put our front door together. We need to put our latch in here first. Put that in so it's not dangling all over the place. Now we'll tighten the latch up into the door. Click. Install our rubber baby buggy bumpers. And we can stick our door on the car. We put the little bumpers on there because we don't want it hitting that pillar and damaging our paint. I'll find a good way to grab this thing. Try not to mess up any of the paint. Latch the back of it, and we can start our bolts in the front. And tighten them all down to manufacturer specs. You want to run them in slow so that the shoulder of the bolt goes through the hinge and aligns itself. If you just go all in and send it, usually the shoulder of the bolt ends up pinching the hinge in there and it doesn't align itself. So now we can peel off our masking paper. We put this on there so that the overspray doesn't have to be sanded off later. You just peel off the tape and the overspray comes right with, and it's less to sand. Saves work on the guy that's going to be sanding. Hope it's not me. Now it's time to put the upper quarter trim in. We'll fish our seatbelt through there. And we'll slide it up onto that evil clip that never wants to come back out. So we get it on there and put the rest of our friendly clips in. And we can clip the trim panel in top of our hatch. Just use the belt molding installation tool to clip it in. And we need to take our old door apart. So pull our switches out, dump all the glass out of there and then unplug them. One screw behind the switches and a little wiggle and pull, and our trim panel comes off. And that trim panel is bad. The back of the armrest is smashed from where it went into the B-pillar. So we did get a used one. Pop our speaker off of here and unplug it. And if you were tired of my horrendous choice of background music, you're in luck. We have the Sounds of the Shop soundtrack back again. So we're going to finish unplugging our wiring harness. We need it for our other door because it was different. I did check the part numbers. That means we got to go in gooey fun stuff land. Bolt our door check. And we can unscrew our handle so we can get more gooey fun stuff everywhere. And now we need our door adjusting tool. The outer skin is pushed in right up against the inner structure and the window regulator, and our wiring harness is trapped behind it. So we're just making some room. We're going to bend our window regulator back a little bit so we can get that wiring harness out of there. And clip the rest of our wiring harness. And fish it all out of the door. As if it wasn't hard enough getting this out of the door, the hole that it has to come through is smashed, flattened out a little bit. There's a lot less room than there's supposed to be, but still enough to get that harness out of there. So now we can stuff it in our new door. We're not going to put the water barrier up. We still have to paint it. We're just putting it in enough that we can use some of our stuff in the door. We'll connect our door harness to our body harness and clip the grommet into our A-pillar. Didn't hear those clips that let you know it's securely fastened. It is. Bolt our regulator in. Stuff our door check in there and bolt it down. I used the door check that came with the used door because I wasn't too sure about that one that was on the original door since it was kind of smashed there. Put our window track down there and clip our window channel in. It in all the way around the door and down the front. Bolt the bottom of the window track in. Plug in our switches so we can lower our regulator. And try to figure out where the factory wants us to have this. Right there looks good. Drop our glass in here. The front edge in and rock the back in. And we'll set it down in the regulator, tighten it up. I chose used doors on this build because even though they were more expensive than a brand new shell from Honda, I get all the little extras that I needed in this door. Right? The regulator, the door glass, the moldings, the handle, the lock. So if you price all that stuff out individually, it ends up being more expensive to get the Honda door. So with all the little bonuses, this door ended up being a lot cheaper, even though I still had to buy the bottom trim because we have a Touring and this one was offered in EXL. We're going to pull our part numbers off of here. We actually did get a sharp razor blade for this. You don't want to use the dull ones for this. You will scratch the glass. And I'm cheap, but I don't want to buy another glass. So I'll use a fancy sharp razor blade. And we're going to peel off the sticker. I hate when manufacturers put these stupid stickers on. Nobody needs to know about your towing service, Honda. It's a Honda. Doesn't need to be towed. Drop our headrest in here. Now we can clip the cap over the foot of the seat. There's only one on the outside. I guess they figured they're not going to go looking at the inside. Now we need to rebuild our door lock. Another reason I bought the used door. And asked for a key with it. So we're missing the end of it there. Need to pull this cover off of here. It's a little mangled. There's a couple springs in there that we just sent across the tailgate. And we'll try the key and see if it works. And it does, which means taking this apart just got a whole lot easier. Pop the little C-clip off the back. Pull the washer off of there. Now I'm going to see how it works because I've never taken one of these apart. So I want to know how it works so I can put it back together. You need to pull this spring off. That's what returns the key back when you turn it. There's a little plastic piece that it sits in, which is supposed to come off with the spring, but, well, this one's having issues. So now we can pull our lock cylinder out of here. The end of it's broken. Otherwise, we could just take and put this right into our other lock housing. We'll pull the dowel pin out of the rod for the bottom of it. There's a little spacer in there. And then we can pull our C-clip off, pull the washer off, disconnect our spring. This one stayed in the plastic. And we can pull our lock cylinder out. Now we can take the key out. You need the key so that you can turn it to get it out of there. Without the key, it's a lot harder. Now we're going to pull all the little wafers out of there. Some of them are half wafers, and some of them are full. Doesn't matter where these go. This is our old lock. We're just using the housing. There's also springs that push those out, and I'm trying to keep the springs from falling out. A pair of tweezers would probably be a lot easier. But I'm lazy and I don't want to walk back to the toolbox and get them. So all of our springs are still in there. It's completely gutted and ready for us to put our new wafers in from our original lock. So here it does matter where they go. So we're going to take them out one at a time out of our old lock and put them in our new lock. Make sure you get them all in the same spot or our key's not going to work. Now we're just going to keep doing that one at a time so we don't mix anything up. Flip it over and do the other side. And once we get them all in there, we can try the key and make sure it works. If it does, we're ready to put our lock cylinder back in its housing. Make sure it stays in there. And it works. Ready to go back together. So we'll put our little spring on there first. Clip the ends of the springs into the little holes that they sit in. Make sure it works before we go putting it back together. It turns like it's supposed to. We can put our washer back on. Snap our C-clip in here. Trying not to stab ourselves in the fingers. And it's all back together. We're out of the woods. Now we just need to put the little rod on the end of it. So there's a little spacer in there. And make sure we got it facing the right way. Don't know that it matters. Put a little dowel pin in here. Need to get it through both sides. Use the pick to help guide it through. And now it's all the way through, so we're just going to smash the end of it over, flatten it out so that it won't fall out of there. And our lock is completely rebuilt and ready to go back in when our door is ready to go back together. But that's not until after it's painted. So we're going to throw our fender on here. Yep, another part in the right color. I actually paid a little bit more money to get this one in the right color. Not only did it save us time on not having to edge the inside of the fender, it actually turned out to be the exact match on the outside, so we don't have to blend the hood now or the A-pillar. So it ended up saving us quite a bit of work. All we really have to paint is the door, and we can blend into the two panels that we just replaced that happen to be the right color. Close our hood, check all of our gaps. I just put the fender back where it was with its old paint marks and everything lined right up. Must mean I got the doors in the right place. Gaps look good. I had peeled off the old pinstripe quite a while back because it was annoying me, but it still left some of the glue residue on here. So just have a little wax and grease remover. I'm going to wipe it all off of there. Then we're going to mask off our parts that we don't want sanded. And we're just going to sand the top of the door where the pinstripe was. The reason we're doing this is if the pinstripe has been on there for a long time, it'll actually cover up the clear and the sun eats away the clear around it and it'll leave you, I don't know, a little bit of a ridge. And when you paint over that, even if you sanded it flat and it was completely flat and not visible, a shadow can come back through the paint later. So if we take a little extra time, sand it down, prime it, and then paint it, we don't have that problem. It's worth a little extra insurance for me. So now we're going to pull our hood insulation down so that our PDR guy can get here and straighten this little hail dent that's on our hood. Some tape on it to mark it for him. Now we're going to pull our rear door apart. A little two-sided tape on the top edge. Slide our scraper down there. And we're going to release all of our clips. And more two-sided tape on the bottom and the front. Cut that out of there. Little push pins in the back. And we'll pick up all of our clips and put them in a bucket somewhere. Now we can pull our door handle off. Break the screw loose for the cap that I can only assume was tightened by a former Jiffy Lube employee to 6,000 foot-pounds. And we can pull our handle out and all the gaskets. Pull our belt ring out of here. Use a pick to release all the clips, except for that one unfriendly one that wouldn't play nice and wanted to stay in the door. Sure, now it comes out. I'm going to pull our bumper bracket off of our fender. That way the painter can get in there and mask it off. Loosen up the one screw, squeeze the tabs on the back, and it pops out. Our PDR guy was here, or more appropriately, our PDR magician. I don't know how they do what they do. Well, I do know how they do it, but I could never do it. They get rid of the dents. There's no sign they were ever there. No paint work was needed. So we will not have any body filler on the outside of this car anywhere. He took care of our dent in our hood. Above our B-pillar. The one in the quarter, and then there were a couple little dings in that rear door. So the only body filler on this entire job is just going to be where we did our seams and the little dent that was inside the door jamb from the rear door. Other than that, no body work. So now we're going to wait for the painting gnome to get it all painted gray, and then I can come back and throw it all back together. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you when this thing is all gray.